Did you know that you can run a different operating system on your computer than what's already installed? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about virtualization and how you can do just that. Hi everybody, welcome to StudioSec. Thank you for watching. Like if this video is helpful, comment down below with any questions on virtualization you might have, and subscribe for more content I'm posting every week. So as I asked in the opener, did you know that you can have a separate OS on your computer? Well, that's exactly true, you can using virtualization. But first we want to understand what exactly virtualization is. Well, virtualization is a technology. It's a concept. It's built on a concept, but ultimately it's a technology. So there are many ways that you can implement virtualization in your organization, but we want to talk about how this technology works. Basically, virtualization allows your computer to harness the hardware, the physical resources that your computer possesses in order to run a separate operating system. So if we think about it, or if we think about how your computer runs normally without any virtualization, you have your hardware, so you have like your, let's say like your power source, your input and output devices, your motherboard, like the processor, your RAM, your random access memory, and all those kinds of things. Well, those are used by your operating system, and your operating system leverages those resources to run applications. Well, as we've already learned in the operating system video, and there's a link right here, every operating system can be a little bit different. And so some of it can be down to user preference. Some of it can actually be down to the nitty-gritty, like how the kernel runs, what kind of applications your operating system is able to run easier. And so if you have one operating system, like say Windows, and you want to try to run Linux, you can run a virtual machine on your computer, and what your host operating system will do, so Windows, your Windows computer, it will pass access to the hardware to your virtual machine. So that allows you to run more than just one operating system on a computer. Basically said, your virtualization allows your computer to run another operating system, kind of like how it would run an app. So if we think from a practicality standpoint, you can use this if you're a small business owner or any kind of organizational head. You can leverage virtualization to do all kinds of cool things. A caveat to be aware of with virtualization is that your virtual machine will only have access to a partition of your host hardware. Your virtual machine may not be able to run using all the hardware available on the machine. And that's because your host operating system still needs something to run. So, let's say normally your host operating system can run at 100%. It might be a chunk of that. Like, you might want to run with like 10 or 20% for your host OS, depending on what you're trying to do. You can, of course, negotiate that with the application, the host application. And two examples of those would be like VMware is a popular application, and so is VirtualBox. And those applications allow you to host a virtual machine on your computer. Now with that in mind, now that we've answered the question of what is virtualization, let's answer a new question of what does that mean for you? It's cool that this technology exists, but what do we do with it? How can we make this useful? Well, if you think about trying to deploy a virtual work environment or allow people to work remotely, a virtual machine is a perfect option, allowing them to use their own computer, their personal computer, to VPN or use a VPN tunnel into your organization and to access a virtual machine. So maybe they have like a virtual desktop available to them. And that can, not only save office space, you don't have to, reserve, some space for somebody to work at. They don't have to commute all the time, but also you don't have to buy a whole new workstation for them, with all the hardware that goes with the new workstation. You just need to get a new license for VPN. You need to stand up a new virtual machine, which if you already have the infrastructure is not very cost prohibitive at all, and then they can just use that. So kind of if you think visually, what you would have is you'd have, your, from a hardware perspective, you would have your, on your server rack, you would have like your firewall, you'd have like some, additional security hardware on there. Check out a video for cybersecurity technologies, and they would access the hypervisor machine, and that's going to be a machine that has, a serious amount of RAM, of random access memory, and of storage space. And then you can partition that to host many virtual machines, and you can set those up dynamically, and those are what your employees will be able to access. This is also excellent if you're wanting to set up any kind of a test environment, or especially, and here's your hint, if you're a student, is your home lab. And here's a link to a video on home labs. Very important. But your virtual environment, especially if you're using VirtualBox, you can make a whole lab for free at home on your computer. So check that video out. But this is how, it's using the technology available to you, virtualization, to stand up virtual machines, to access technologies that maybe you didn't have before, or to access operating systems and applications natively in like Kali Linux, for instance. And that allows you to have a home lab that you can test and learn. So, obviously, if you think from a cost perspective, virtualization really is a handy thing. But with that, we've learned a lot here. Like if this video was helpful, comment down below with your thoughts on virtualization. If you have any questions, fire a comment down below, and subscribe for more content I'm posting every week. Thank you.